Alright, so I'm back. Um, Seems like. Okay, I'm back. I don't know. Am I back? Okay, I think I'm back now. So I apologize for that. Plugged my charger in and then I plugged it into the wrong port and everything just went. And then I'm using OBS Studio. It seemed like that really didn't like me being disconnected. So everything just kind of blew up. But back to where I was. So for this database, I downloaded the Robo 3T um, software. Don't ask me to tell you what it is. It just does all the stuff I needed to do so that way I can see what's in my database. And this is the port that it uses to communicate with over. We'll see that come up again later, so we'll be referring back to the screen. So there's where you can test it. See, boom, test it. Now it works. So we'll save it, and then there you go. You see your database. So we can actually go ahead and connect to it. And as you'll see, there's nothing in here. So the question is, where's all that stuff going to come from? All that stuff is going to come from what we're going to do in the next few steps. I'm just going to move that out the way for the time being. And this is now finished as well, so now we're good to go. And I may be wrong, but I don't even think I actually needed that. But better safe than sorry. So back to where we were before. So we got the Robo 3T and our MongoDB stuff. Okay, I'm very tongue-tied right now, so bear with me. And and actually I want to go back to that screen that I was using earlier when it was showing us the steps for setting up our database. Because when you see, I can actually go ahead and skip that right now. When you see this file here, this step here is telling us how to connect to our client. So in order to connect to it, um, we have to create a connection, which is being done here. But I'm actually not going to do that in my index.js file because this is the host for my entire application. So this is where everything is being done. This is like the brains of the operation here. This is headquarters. So I'm not going to put a bunch of stuff in here. That's why I created that models folder. So that's where most of my models and stuff is going to go to. And just kind of give you a heads up of what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to dive into the older code that I had. And you see this database thing. This database here is actually what we're going to be creating. And in order to do this, we need to install another package called mongoose. And the thing about mongoose is it makes it a lot easier for us to write all the stuff we need for our database, because as you can see here, when you're creating your stuff, well, this isn't creating the model, but this is one of the functions that they created to insert stuff into the database. And somewhere else in here, I've actually never used this, so excuse me if I kind of rambled. But in here, these are all the stuff that you have to do in order to update stuff into your database. And as you can see, it's a little not complex, but it looks a little tedious. And I want something a lot simpler because let me go to the first part. Removing a document, right? You have a function with callback, and you have to do all this specific stuff, and you have to delete one, all that. Well, with Mongoose, it makes all that stuff a whole lot easier. And oh wait, that is the bike shop. So I think I need mongoose.js at the end, and actually I want to go the npm library. So if I do npm mongoose, boom. Now we have our. So this is what we want, and as you see, it's fairly popular. It gets 879,000 weekly downloads. So it's something used by a lot of different people, and it just makes it really easy to interact with your database without having to write those elaborate scripts. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and show you that code from the last time I was trying to do this, and it's pretty much the same thing, right? You see this starter thing, and it's really that simple. You have your stuff going here. You connect to your database, and that's it. It's done. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. So I'll leave that in the bottom screen, and then I'll go ahead and jump into that. So for this, I'm going to create another folder, and this is going to be called database. Boom. And then I'm going to say new file, and then I think I could just call it like database.js, and then, yeah, mongoose.js. So something very simple to just say, hey, this is what sets up my database. So mongoose.js. Boom. Got that. And then again, now I need to install mongoose, so I need to do npm install or npm I like to use shorthand, so npm I mongoose, and I don't think I need JS because I screwed myself up last time by using it. So what does it tell me? Yeah, just npm install mongoose. Boom. And then I like to use npm. There's another package manager called Yarn. Some people choose to use that. Wait, what is going on here? Am I in the right place? Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna close these for now so I don't get confused. So let's see. Why did it not like that? So skipping optional dependency. Wait, no repository. Did they change it? I'm just gonna copy paste. Maybe I have to have a typo in there somewhere. Actually, I'll do npm install mongoose. Hopefully second time's the charm. Yep, there we go. Alright. So I think it just didn't like the fact that I used I think it's like supposed to do dash or something. So now we have that, and we can make sure it's in there. We can look over here. Alright, cool. We got mongoose. Boom. So now we're gonna go in here and we're gonna follow the instructions from this page. So I'll make it smaller. And now we're just gonna do const mongoose, because this is the way it connects. So it's installed, and when you install stuff, it goes into this node modules package, and as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff in here that we never even set up, and this comes pre-shipped with the software. When you're doing your npm stuff, is kind of stuff that it does for you. That gives us a lot of the shortcuts that we have, and I'm trying to find Express has an E in it. So Express, you see Express is here. This is what we installed, and MongoDB is also in here. Mongoose is here. So this is all of the stuff which allows us to use some of the shorthand that you'll see me using soon, and even NodeMon is here. So so that's where that stuff comes from, and that's what it does. So now I'm gonna do const mongoose equals require mongoose. So now it has a reference to what I'm talking about when I use mongoose in anything in this specific file. So I bumped my computer cord. I need to stay far away from the back. So you can't see anything just yet, but hopefully me doing this will fix it. There we go. Boom. Okay. Alright, we're back. Alright, so thank you for sitting through that. And so where were we? Okay, mongoose. Yeah. So this next step is connecting to the database. So there's a port that this thing uses so it knows how to hook up to itself. So the only thing you have to do is just direct it there. And that's what I have here in my older code. I'm actually just gonna follow my older code because sometimes the docs don't get updated periodically, and there's always maybe like a dependency or something like that that isn't configured the way it's supposed to be. So I'm just gonna follow what I know. So we're gonna do connect. We're gonna connect to the database, and then we're gonna hit MongoDB, and then now that's that port number we were looking at before, 127.0.0, and I think it tells you here as well. Maybe not, but in that Robo D3, if I go to let's see if I can figure out where it is. Yeah, so it's not the same, but is it? No, it's definitely not. Okay, wait, there it is. Yeah, so it's using a network kind of thing. It's like your IP address, and then it uses this specific port. So that's what's happening there. All right. I'm not a big network guy, so I might not lie, but I might not be right about some of the stuff I say about networking. So you'll have to forgive me about that. So here we go. We're gonna use that IP address, and then we're gonna go into this port. And then in the previous version I called it a website, but what did I call it here? I think I called it WilliamEnnals.com. Oh, did I put a space in it? That space may be a problem, so I'm just going ahead and I want to disconnect from the server, and then I want to rename it. Manage connections. There we go. And I want to edit it, and I want to take that space out of there. I'm just thinking in web, spaces are never fun. So I'll just connect to it for now, and we'll get to that later. So then now we're gonna go WilliamEnnals.com, and then do this, and then this is how you saw in the documentation. This is like this is telling it where on the web the URL for your database, and then this here is saying, okay, these are all the parameters that I need to use, that you have to use to connect. So these are optional, obviously. Well, not all of them. So use new URL parser. Yes. So this is just default stuff that you just have to do. And then use unified topology. I wish I knew what that was, but I mean I don't. So that's just what it is. And then this is another note here. So when you see they have localhost here, and here I'm using the 127.0 blah blah blah. So that's where that came from. So in my tutorial they just told us to use that by default, so that's what I did. And this is the model stuff I was talking about. Like you see here, they have the blog post, and you have your schema, and you have all that fancy stuff there. And we'll get to that, so I won't go too far ahead, but that's where we're going, and that's what we're trying to do. So now that I have that, I do have to use these properties, these parameters, properties, whatever you want to call them. My phone is having a field day. I don't know what is going on. Oh, you couldn't see me this whole time. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not that pretty anyway, so. Alright, we're gonna use new URL parser. I'm gonna make this true. And then we're gonna use create index. And you see here, if true, this connection will use create index instead of ensure index for automatic index builds via model.init. So that's actually stuff that we don't necessarily interact with, I don't think. We'll see. but it's just stuff for the database to handle when it's initializing, that kind of stuff. Use unified topology. So this is for new scripts. Okay. So there's a depreciated version, so you have to use this for now, for the time being. And I think this is all it takes. And then when you do this module dot exports, this really just makes it available for anything anywhere else. So what'll happen is you'll see down the line, when I want to connect to the database, I won't have to do all of this stuff again. I can just pull this constant that you see here, and when I use this variable to refer to all of this, it'll tap me into the database. So you won't have to continuously write pieces of code to get in there. You can just refer to this, like you require it, and then once you require it, you're pulling that in to your next file, and then that file will know what it is and how to connect to it. So that's what that does. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. I have this weird tendency to put semicolons for behind stuff. I don't think you have to do it here, but I started learning to code in Java, so it's kind of one of those things that I just do. But I don't see a lot of semicolons when I look at JavaScript code, so I'll let it slide for now. It just looks very inconsistent. So I'm sorry. I'm very weird about this. Alright, so let me just save both of those. And then we're still not quite where we need to be yet. Now we're going to go ahead and we have our connection to the database, as you see here. We export it so it's available. And I don't know why this thing keeps connecting. So now we're going to go down and we're going to go into models. So what we have to do in the models, as you see, what I created before was all this stuff. But this is actually going to change now that I have the new model for the way that's going to be structured. I wish I could show you, but Adobe XD is really just not being my friend today, and I have no idea why. So I'm just gonna hit cancel. Actually, let me try one. I'll just uninstall it and then reinstall it. That might be the only way to get it back. Jeez. Let's see what's going on there, because I really want to be able to see what I'm going to build. Because I have it in my head, but I don't want to do all this from my head, because if I miss something, then I have to go back and clean it up, which is pretty annoying. I'll leave that one to another page so I don't tie you guys up with that. So there's a conflicting process. So say right click the taskbar. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing. Right click the taskbar, select task manager. So go back to the task manager. And then we're going to select the conflicting process. Alright, I don't know what a conflicting process would be, but I'm just gonna do anything that's Adobe and just close that out. I think this 32-bit stuff might be what's killing me, because I don't have a 30. Oh, here we go. What's this? That might be it. That might have been it. Yeah, anything Adobe, I'm just gonna knock it out. And apparently it's 5 instances. Okay. Now let's try this again. So yeah, it crashed. So hopefully that will fix something. I closed all that stuff out, so let's go ahead and see. Alright, so We'll let Adobe XD do its thing, and we'll continue going with where we're going. So the next thing we have to do is we have to create our model, and that's going to, as you see here, that's the way we're holding all our data. So in order to have a database, you need to know, the database needs to know what you're trying to create and um, what type it is, what type of data it is. So say, okay, you're gonna have something called category. Okay, what, how does it look? Pretty much in terms of what kind of data is it gonna be. Is it gonna be a number? Is it gonna be a string? String is a series of characters, like A, B, C, D. Is it gonna be an email, phone number? Like what? How's that gonna look? And that's what all that is. And it seems like Adobe XD might be playing ball. So let me hit that. Yes, there we go. Okay, so now we're back we're good for that. Okay, cool. It's updating now. So there we go. See, we got some progress going. Um, and then we're gonna go over into our models now, and we're gonna start with the post. I'm gonna call it post. So we're gonna do post.js. And now the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna require mongoose. Well, const mongoose equals require, and in this case we're not going to require the mongoose that we just pulled in. Actually, I'm going to call this database. I think that's how I did it the last time. I'm wrong. I stand to be corrected. Oh, I get it. Okay, so we don't use that, what I'm thinking about, until we get over here. So, actually, no. We use that here in Index.js, and that's how you pull in your database and make it relevant. Um, excuse me. I don't think you actually have to give it a variable because I don't think you use it anywhere else, but I know it just hooks into your code here. So that way it's relevant. Your code is aware of when everything else tries to connect to the database, it knows what you're talking about. Alright, enough of that. Let's go into the models. So we're going to pretty much go ahead and do this. And as you see here, I'll show you, this is where I get to show you the difference between using Mongoose as a third party to create our database versus using MongoDB directly. So you don't necessarily have to use Mongoose to create your database. You can go ahead in MongoDB and you can use their scripts. But as we'll see, is when you use their scripts, it's it's just a little bit more effort, and the whole purpose of using, when you're coding, you kind of want to do what takes the least amount of time. And sorry, I was just trying to find the docs. I didn't see it directly. Software, community server. Oh wait, docs are here. That's what I want. So we go check out the docs. You can see right here. So Control F model. Huh. Let's see. Where was I? I could have sworn I saw it on this page. Insert document, connect. Huh, maybe not. But I could, no, I definitely think I saw it here. Let's see. Finding documents, updating documents. Is this it here? Alright, maybe not. So, but yeah, I just wanted to show you the process of creating a your database, and but I guess you'll see as we go along here. So we want to use this. This time we create our constant. You see that it's different now. It's green, where everything else is blue. This is because this is more like a object. Well, as you see, it's a model. And it's a model. of type document, which is what MongoDB calls all of the how do you say? So in some databases you have what's called a table, which is a little bit more um, understandable from a human perspective, because you have a table, you have your column headers, and you have all the data that belongs in that header, like an Excel spreadsheet. But here in MongoDB, they have what they call a document, and it's more or less the same thing, but it's just structured a little differently. I don't actually know the details on what the difference is, but that's just kind of what's going on there. So imagine that all of this stuff here is like a header in a table, and it's telling you, like an Excel spreadsheet, okay, this has to be all like words, letters, series of characters, and then stuff like this says, okay, this has to be a date, meaning like date, month, date, year, that kind of thing. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with that. So in order to get that started, we're gonna pull in mongoose. Um, there we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna say const, and I'm still gonna call it post, and then we're gonna use mongoose dot, and we're not connecting to the database. See, this here does that, tells you there too. All that connection, that connect that we used in the last file was it opens the connection to the database. Now that we already have a connection to the database, we need to create our model, which is here. So this is where we define our model, and this is how we describe all of the data that's going in that database. So we have that, and then we now have to, as you see here, this is the name, and then there's all these optional stuff after that. So the name is going to be post, and then when you put your comma in here, that's our callback function, and I forget the syntax. So now, okay, I'm gonna keep with the single quotes. There's no real difference between double quotes and single quotes. It's just that single quotes are used more frequently when you're working in files directly. People tend to use more double quotes. Actually, it's just a preference, really. It's just a preference. Like you see here, they're using double quotes. It's literally the same thing. So now, when you go in here and you're describing your model, this is where I think did I double count? No, I didn't. I don't think I needed this one. Yep. So now we're going to describe all the data that's going into this model. And before I jump into that, see right now, see it's looking for stuff. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, because there's no dot dot thing here. So what's going to happen is now we're going to have a series of properties that is going to describe the type of stuff that we're looking for. And in order to do that, I'm going to show you where we're going to get that data from. So this design that I created is going to show us what type of data we're trying to put out to the user. And from there, that'll tell us, okay, in order to show this to the user, you have to get this kind of data. You have to have this data available. So we're going to look at two different places. So we're going to look at, first, we're going to look at this is the terminal that nobody's actually going to see. This is actually going to be just what we'll see as we code it. But here is, there we go, post. So you see here, we have the image that's going to hold that the post is, the image for the post, and then we're going to hold the title, where there's a title there, there's a description, there's a category, there's a status, there's a date created, and there's a date active. And then we have the number of comments. So that's what we're seeing here. And then we're also seeing is when you look at the actual user side, we again, you have your title, your image, the date it was active, the category, the description text, and then we have over here, this is where the actual blog lives. So everything else on this page can be ignored except for this stuff, the comments. It's also going to be important. Um, these comments are actually going to be coming in from a third party application, Facebook. So Facebook has a way where I don't know if you've ever been on a blog or any other website, and you can log into Facebook and you can just put a comment on somebody's page. That's what this is doing here, and this is what's gonna um, be attached to the blog. So you're gonna have your blog data here. So you have your image again, you have your title, you have your category, you have the date it's been available or how long ago it's been available, and you have all the content, all context, and then you have the comments. So now this is where we have to look at how we get all of this stuff in there. So what that means is we have to model the post, which is this. Well, technically, it's all of this stuff that you see here, minus these buttons. And then you have to link it to another model or another. Yeah, I'll call it a model for now, just because I don't know what else to call it. So we have to create another model for comments in order to store this kind of data. So let's see how we'll do that. So we're going to come in here, and now we're going to start with, I guess another thing that I know that you guys don't know yet is we're using, in order to write those posts, I'm going to be using another third-party application called TinyMCE. And this TinyMCE is going to be that text editor that I need to write all my stuff because I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and this shit looks really tedious. So I don't want to have to do all that because that means I have to create code to do all the stuff that this is going to do. And it already works, it's good, and it's free. So why waste my time? So the good thing with this is that I read ahead on the documents, and it says that this this text that comes out of this can either be given to me as HTML code or it can be given to me as text. Um, I know I can work with the HTML. Just knowing what I know about Angular, I know I can dynamically drop HTML into my blog or where it needs to be with no problem. So that's what I'm going to do, and it'll actually save me a little bit of overhead because I won't have to worry about the image because I can encode the image into the HTML, so that way I don't have to link to a some kind of file storage, like cloud storage, or think Google Drive, but for developers. Um, I won't have to do any of that because it'll just be encoded. So it'll just be a series of letters and numbers and characters and stuff that'll represent my image, and then it'll just be attached to my HTML template. So knowing that, when I go ahead and do the actual database, when I create my model, I'll say, okay, I know I'm gonna have something called content, and it's gonna be an object. I know it's gonna be of type. Even though it's gonna be a HTML, I'm gonna call it a string for now. I could be wrong because there's no type HTML, right? Oh, maybe there is. Actually, let's look into that. So the way we'll see if that's a valid type, which I doubt, but just I'm gonna humor myself. And let's see, model type. Actually, I'm in the wrong place. I need to go to mongoose because we're using mongoose. So again, this is another convenience kind of thing. When I use mongoose, I did this again. Okay. If I have $1 for every time I do that, I'll probably be rich by the end of this. Alright. Oh, wait. It was already there. Types. Here we go. This is something else, but I'm still going to look. Alright, nope. I think that was a part of it, but that's just they have it stored somewhere else in there. I really want to get to the documentation of it. So where can I get my documentation? They usually have some kind of link to them to the docs that we're looking for. Here we go. There we go. So we'll get into this stuff a little later, but for right now, I want to look for types. So I should be able to just look that up. Model. So this is the API we're using, and then I want to use types. Maybe it's not model. Maybe it's something else. Schema. No, shit. I'm too jumpy. I'm just gonna type in types and see what pops up. Oh, the type key. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I did it again. Jeez, I'm super jumpy. Get it together, man. There we go. So, as you see here, string is probably going to be the most common thing we'll use, but there is going to be some other stuff we're going to want. So, as you see here, you have your, excuse me. So, we have date, we have number, we have string, we have buffer, which is going to be like binary data. So maybe I'm not going to get into that because I'm really not too familiar with that, but I do know it's probably just kind of what I was talking about, encoding your images. So you can maybe encode something in a bytecode and then pull that out later. Then you have this mix thing, which is probably a mixture of a string and something else possibly. But I'm not too sure. I haven't used it, but this is another type that we can use. They have booleans, they have object IDs. So that's like a unique key, I guess maybe. I'm really not too sure. I haven't used that one. I haven't had a reason to use it. You have arrays, so maybe you have like a list of stuff. You have maps, where maybe you want some like key value pairs. So maybe like you're storing cars and you want to have like a Toyota, and then you also want to store the model of the car. That's a possibility. Um, Getters. Well, I am totally off. It feels like, 'cause I don't feel like getter's a type. Let's see this thing. Oh, maybe not. Who knows? Oh yeah, so look at that. Look at that. So they tell you right here, where you can get the picture. So this might come in handy later on, because I was actually talking with a friend about storing my images online, and if I run into trouble with my images, I have this option here to create this S3 bucket and use that to get my stuff. So that is an option, but I'll save that for later. So let's go ahead here. HTML, I'm going to say it's a string for right now. And then the next thing I needed to do is I need it to, do I need to validate it? So the good thing here is, again, you get to set the type of data that you want, and then you get to validate it. So I don't think I did any validation in this. I think I kept it pretty straightforward. But I think in the user, I did have some validation, so we'll get into that. But right now, all of this stuff is going to be required, so I'm going to toss that up on there. And then there's another thing here too that you can do, and you can say, okay, you can default the variable that you want. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to do required, and that is true. Wait, was it required equals true? Yep. So required true, and I'll leave it alone for now. And if I need to bind it a little more loosely later, I'll do that. Still kind of winging this thing. So the content is all going to be HTML. So that's already coming in. So another thing that I want to do is I want to have a title. Title is going to be obviously a string. And once I get into the front end stuff and I start experiencing what my limitations are, I may say, hey, the string shouldn't be longer than 50 characters. I don't think I'll do that. I don't think that makes sense. You don't want to. I don't want to limit my title to say, oh, the title's 50 characters, so I can't use it, even if that's the best possible title. You know what I mean? So not gonna do that. Wait a second. What is going on here? That is weird. Okay, so maybe they changed this a bit. Schema. I think I'm missing something here. Not sure what I'm missing. But I'll get to the bottom of it in a second. Maybe I'll take that comment out. Nope. Oh, I see. So I opened it there. I didn't need that. Alright, so now we got, out of the stuff we said we needed, we got our title, we got our content. So we need to get our description. So the description might have some limitations because you don't want 2 paragraphs for a description, right? But as of right now, I can go without setting that up right now. And then let's say we'll make this required too. And then next thing is the date created. So what I really wanted to do here was, when I go into my management platform, I wanted to be able to organize my posts based off of when I wrote them. For instance, if I'm in here, sometimes I might want to say, hey, out of the, if I want to advertise my post and get the most recent active post, maybe I want to edit it. Maybe there's like a typo and I want to hurry up and jump in and get it. I'll be able to sort through some stuff in here and say, okay, what's the active post, and I can go that way. Or maybe I'm looking through some posts and I just want to have all my posts in the order that I created them or thought of them, whatever. And maybe I, had a post from 2 months ago, and I was like, it's not done, it's not finished, so I never got around to it. And maybe I didn't want to put that in just yet. Or just that kind of thing. So this is what these fields are. It just kind of helped me get some more sorting options and just more control of knowing when I'm writing my posts. And then active is more for, not necessarily for me, but it's for the user, because when they'll see it's active, say, okay, that's where you get that, 5 months ago, 2 days ago, 3 hours ago kind of stuff. So that's what that is. And then this is actually going to be that type date. So that's something different. And then true. So this part is actually, this stuff is kind of boring when you think about it. It's not too much going on, but this is what makes all the stuff you see on the front end so fluid. This is what makes it work. This is where this stuff comes from. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you're, this is the data that you're dealing with, and then all that stuff is kind of like, putting pretty colors and stuff on it. So date active, you got that, and then we're gonna go here and see type is going to be date, and then we got that, and we're gonna see this is also, it's not required actually, because actually I'll put it required. Oh, okay, so this is my dilemma. It's not required because if it's a post that's created but not active, I won't know. And let's say I don't know when I want to post it, so let's not make that active. Let's not make that required. Because but I think, I wonder if I can do this. Can I do or string? Huh. Let me double check that. Let me check. I don't wanna. Let's look at these mixed types. So since mixed is a schema less type, you can change the value to anything you like, but mongoose loses the ability to auto detect and save those changes. Some models that the value of the mix type is changed. And anything goes schema type. Mongoose would not do any casting on mix path. You can define a mix path using schemas.type.mix or by passing an empty object literal. The following are equivalent. So here it's just saying it's literally anything. Const any new schema boost string. Any will be mixed. Everything inside is ignored. Const any, however, of most this behavior can be overwritten. So, maybe I think I'm fine. So it's saying it can either be a date or it can be a string. And the only reason why I was thinking about doing this was because maybe if I didn't set it, I would say, okay, the default value would be not applicable. That's one thing I'm thinking. Another thing, actually, I can, but I just thought about it. I'm kind of being a little redundant there, because what I have is I have the status property, and that is going to tell me, hey, your we're gonna make that a string, and then we're gonna say this one is required. And we're going to do some validation on this because we're going to say, okay, it's required, yeah. And we're also going to validate it. And I forget the syntax for the validation, so I'm going to look at one of my older models. So what I want to validate is, we want to validate, and the reason why we're going to validate is because my status is either going to be one of three things, maybe four. It's either going to be active, meaning it's live, it's up, people can see it. It's either going to, or pending, meaning, let's say I have a post, I wrote it a week early or something, and I want to, I know I want to post every month. So let's say, okay, I scheduled this post for 1 month in the future, and that post is now set. It's not active, but it's not a draft because it is ready. It just isn't active. And then there'll be the other state, which is going to be draft. So it's either pending, active, or draft. I can't think of any other state there. So we're going to validate that, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to validate the value. And I think you use the dot dot notation here as well. But nope, object notation. Well, not object, but you get what I'm saying here. We're going to validate this, and we're going to use this is what they call custom validation. But the only thing we're going to do is we're going to say if actually I want to create I wonder if I can do this, const options equals draft or pending string, and let me use my single draft or pending or active. And then we'll say if value not equal to options. So we're saying whatever value is in this thing, whatever value you give it. So you see here, there's no thing that says value. If the value isn't either draft, pending, or active, we're going to throw an error. And this is what this, then that's what this does for us. So there's a throw error. Status can only be draft, pending, or active. And that's a message to myself that I'll see. I'll say, hey, what's going on here? I created the post and I changed the status and it's not working. I'll get some error to say, hey, dog, you used the wrong status code or whatever, and that's what that is. So that wraps up that, and then what else did I need? Category. I need a category. I'm a little weird. I like to organize this stuff in a specific way, even though um, it's not like it actually matters, but I just do stuff kind of the way I think it should be if I had like an actual cabinet or something. But so the type is going to be a string again. Um, Maybe you'll have some numbers in there or something like that, but numbers are technically strings. Um, if you yeah, numbers can technically be strings. And you'll see what I mean. Like if you type it in a box on a website or something like that, it'll be a string. And this is going to be required because I want to have some sorting options on here to say, hey, if I have a category, I want to sort it. Let's say you're visiting my blog and you're like, yeah, I don't care about your gaming, I don't care about your dog, but I do care about that food stuff that you got on there. So I want to sort by food. Then that's what this does. So we got that, and so now we have our category, and now we have our content. We have our description. We have our date. We have the date that was created. We got our active date. We got our status, and we validated to make sure it's going to be one of these few things. And am I missing anything? Let me look at the old one and see. Yeah, so it's still kind of similar. So this body and summary is all wrapped into one. We may use this later, depending on how things work with that encoding stuff I was talking about earlier. We'll see. And that's all we have for this. So now we're going to export this thing and say, all right, now I'm going to say module dot exports equals post. So this all represents one post. So no matter, so it's saying any post that we create has to fit this. If it doesn't fit this, then it's not a post. So that's what we have there. And then this required stuff does is if let's say I'm creating a post and I forget something and I go to save it, it's gonna be like, hey, we can't put this in the database because you're missing something, you didn't fill something out, and you can't leave it blank. Now, what I can do is I can put some limitations on here to make sure I don't screw anything up. Like say I hit save, and let's say I put let's say I had a post, right? Let's say you're typing, and I say, well, this isn't really what it's gonna look like, but let's say there's like some box here, right? And you see this kind of gray box showing up there. Let's say I hit space. Technically, that space is a string. You can put that in the string like this, and that's technically not empty anymore. So it's technically valid. I can protect it there, but I have another way of fixing that. Because on the front end, when I'm putting all this stuff in, I can actually do all of that. I can actually say, hey, you type something in this box, but I'm not even gonna let you put that in there. So Angular has forms, which is really powerful um, thing they have built into the software with Angular, where you can validate a form, and forms are really popular on the internet. Everything's a form at this point. So that's a really powerful thing that they have there. So I don't have to do as much on my database on this end of the database because I can control it before it even gets here. Um, and what I mean is, and there's stuff you can do here to prevent that as well. Like this trim thing, it'll trim away white space. This email tag, lowercase, you can make sure everything's lowercase. So there's a lot of stuff you can do here, but we just don't need that stuff here. So let's go ahead and move on. Yeah, I'm not using any custom validators, so we're good there. All right. So next thing is we're going to create the model for a project. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to say project. And what I'm doing here is when, I don't know if you've seen like most blogs, most, I'll say personal websites. I'm just going to pull up somebody that I know. I don't know him, but I actually like the way he was one of the first freelance developers I looked up, did research on, found the website, that kind of stuff. And what you can see is his portfolio. And on his portfolio, he's got a list of projects that he's done. And for some people, maybe they go in and manually add this stuff into their website. But for me, I don't want to continuously have to do that. So I created um, a model for how I want that stuff to look. Um, I didn't really pay attention before, but this active bar is actually supposed to be over here. But it doesn't matter. It's just a design. It's not, it's not going to kill me. Um, let's see. So project, right? So projects have this kind of layout. So you have your images again. You have your title, which you see again over here. You got your this is also a category because maybe this is, so in this case this is a personal project that I did, but maybe it's a client project, or maybe it's like a startup or something like that. Maybe I want to organize that some kind of way. I'll have a way to do that. Then you'll have the date that it was completed. I might have timeline or something like that in there somewhere later. Um, but I don't have that in the design, so I'm not going to put it there now. You have this is the description or overview. You have your image there. You have your link to the website. You have kind of all of these kind of headers. But the thing here is that it's consistent, right? Um, so what I'm gonna do is, actually, I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump back because now that I'm starting to see these images a lot, I don't want to cripple myself later when I dive into this stuff over here using the images in multiple places. I don't want it to be tightly bound to my HTML. So I'm gonna take a look at the mongoose. Excuse me. Take a look at the mongoose setup for images. And now this is going to be a hit or a miss. So, um, not too sure how this is going to play out here. But let's see. There was a thing in there where they had the picture. I think it was down in getters. Okay, so here we go. Getters are like virtuals for paths defined in your schema. For example, let's say you want to store user profile pictures as relative paths. Okay, I'm getting it now. As relative paths, and then add the host name in your application. Below is how you would structure your user schema. So this thing here is the getter, and this route will be the route to, let's say you have an Amazon S3 bucket. Let's just go ahead and create the S3 bucket now. So let's go to www.amazon Amazon, what's it? S3.amazon. S3, actually let's just go here. I'm just gonna copy that and we're gonna paste it. Because I'd rather have the flexibility and not need it than need the flexibility and have to redefine my schema. So here we have object storage built to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. Perfect. That's exactly what we need. So the simple storage service is an object storage service that offers industry-leading scalability, data availability, security, and performance. This means customers of all sizes, blah blah blah. So you store your data, protect it, right? Um, I've kind of already looked into a little bit of this, and I already have a profile on here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and continue. But I don't want you guys. I don't know what's gonna show up here, so I'm just gonna go over here, and I'm gonna log in. And I think I have two-factor authentication, but I do not want to grab my phone because I think that is going to be an issue. So I'll set that up later, but just know that that's something that I did set up, and when I do that, I'll show you guys what's going on there. But what I'll do is I'll just go ahead in the code here. I'll make that reference. So let me go back to the blog. So what may happen is I may embed the rest of the images relevant to the blog, but the cover image itself may exist somewhere else. I think that makes sense. And if it doesn't work, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'd rather just try it and fail than not try it at all, you know. So since I started a little late today, I'll go until about 10:15, 10:30ish. Depending on where we get. If I get to a nice place to stop, then I'll just stop there. Another thing I'll have to define here is I'm still following that getters thing from the mongoose page. I just don't have it showing. I'll just call it root. That's what they're doing. So I'll call it root, and it'll equal. Actually, I'll just say S3 source. That's really what it is. Yeah, and then I'll store that somewhere else because I don't want to store it directly in my code because it's exposed. Not necessarily, but it is. So for right now, I'll just copy what they have in there so that way I know later to change it. So that's what that is, and then now I'm sorry, I make weird sounds. Now I go down in here and say cover image, and that's gonna be it's gonna have a name, string, Oh, I see. So the getter isn't necessarily a type, it's like a property. And we'll see it in a second. So the image is going to have a name, and that's going to be a string, and it's also going to have so this is actually like the source right here, picture. Well, I'm going to say image because picture just sounds weird. And then we're going to define an object, and it's going to be of type string. And I'm sorry, picture. Oh yeah, that's right. And it's object of type string. And then you say, okay, we're gonna get, what the heck is V? I want to say, what is it? URI, I think is what it is. Because there's like URL, and then there's URI. I think they're meant to be the same thing, but I think one is relative and one is not. That's not worth looking up. I'm just gonna call it URI. I'll say location. That's probably a little bit more specific. And then now we have another function that says, all right, this you're going to go to your root location, and you're going to look at this address, like this location. That's how that works. And then that is going to return your image. What the heck did this come from? I see. Oh, did I need this one? Nope, I didn't. Oh, I see. I did it. I did. I was weird. There we go. And we don't even need. Actually, we don't need any of that either. I kind of got too specific when I was reading it. So this is really what it is here. They were just giving me an example, and I copied the whole thing, so what I just needed. And this is spacing is a little off, so we're going to tab that back. And boom. That is our model there. So in the example here, you see, well, here we go. So this is how they define their user schema. So this is for a user in this example, user, and you're just doing your profile picture. So for the user, they said the user's gonna have a name, string. Didn't really do much else with that. Then say you're gonna have a picture, and the picture is gonna be of type string, because the picture is going to be the address that is getting your picture from, so like the URL. And that's what that is, and it's like a convenient way for it to store that stuff in there for you to get your information. So you have that getter there that does that for you. And then when you go here, it says, all right, so now they're creating something called doc, just a word, and they're creating a new user, and then they're passing in the name is Val, so their name is Val, and then when they do the picture, it's like, okay, you're doing slash 123 PNG. I don't want to have to put slashes in when I do my stuff, so maybe when I do my user, we already have a nice syntax here for putting in strings, because now I can just type a string in there and it'll read like a string. So I can just put the slash there. So when I actually go ahead and create the and put that in, I don't have to put the slash in there. I can just put the name and the file extension, and it'll render all of that. Just like how you have here, your root is here, so it'll be root, blah blah blah, my bucket, and then this is probably gonna be your username, and then you have slash where the name of your picture. So that's that, and so that sets up post. So now we're gonna go into project, and we're gonna pretty much do the same thing. We're gonna say const we'll put in mongoose, const mongoose equals require mongoose, and then now we go const project equals mongoose dot model, and then the name of the model is project, and then from there we create all of the properties or the fields that you want on your project. And we go again back to the design, and that's how we get our fields. So you see here, that's where that is. And down in the portal here, I try to double check just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So maybe there's like a disconnect. So you see like here, date started and date active. So maybe I am tracking when I started a project, so that way maybe for myself personally, I want to know how long it takes me to complete projects. So maybe if I'm doing later on down the line, maybe I have some algorithm that tells me how long it takes to complete a certain type of project, right? So so you like see here like type is design. So that's kind of where the disconnect is between this and the actual design. So my design says it's like a category, but it's really the type of project. So here I'm tracking my designs. So maybe my algorithm is like, okay, ignore personal projects because personal projects there's no timeline. I do it whenever I feel like it, right? But if I'm doing client work and I'm trying to give estimations for the type of work, then that's different. There is a timeline, so I want to be able to give people active timelines on how long it takes to do a project. So in that case, it will um, have a type. But first things first, name of the project. We're going to use an object. So the name is going to be type of string, and it is required. And next we have our oh shit our description. Let me get capitalized. We have our description. If I can type, and that is type string as well. And then we have this description is going to be required true. And maybe with the description, I'm also pulling in an image, right? There might be a image with my description, as you see. Sorry, I'm jumping around here, but as you see here, each of these fields is associated um, with an image. So you see like this kind of combination here, um, and this combination here. These structures all have like pictures associated with them, and maybe there's more than one image, right? So maybe here I do kind of high level simple stuff, and then maybe I dig into it later on. So and as you see visually, they're all created into their own kind of sections. So what I can do is I can say that um, the description, now I keep opening up the old project. The description is going to actually hold two things. It's going to hold um, it's going to hold the I'll say summary, I guess. No, it's not. Let's call this overview, right? Because this is the section called overview. Ooh, I'm sorry, I just heard a car hit a bump and then it swerved. Mm-mm. It hit something though. Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard a car go down my block and it sounded like it hit my car. Well, it sounded like it hit something. I don't know what it hit. Actually, let me just take a look outside. No, my car doesn't even look moved. Yeah, I think it hit that bump kind of hard. Sorry for that. But here we go. So now we're going to create our overview, and that overview is going to hold the description, and that is of type string. I wonder if this is able to hold that level of complexity, because I'm defining it in the kind of the same way um as I would if I was kind of nesting like forms, but I'm creating the the overarching object, and yeah, that should work. It's just an object, nothing but an object, so I think that's fine. So we have our description, and then that is going to be required. So set that to true. I'll put the comma there. And then also on top of that, we're going to say, hey, you need your image, and we're going to make it an array of images. So this is where it gets interesting, right? So I'll say images, and it's going to be an array of images. So I think I can do, and this will be the same way I did the images in post. So how did I do that there? So you see I have cover image type string, and then have that. So I'm just actually going to go ahead and copy that. And we actually want an array of this. So what you can do is you can wrap that, but I forget how it looks in Mongoose. So let me go to arrays, and here it is. New schema, toys, and this is interesting. So you just nest it in your array tags, and not tags. So you have it subtype string. Oh no. Yeah. So I wrap it like this. So you do this to show it's an array, and then you say type string. This is probably this may be wrong, but if it is, we'll see. And then we'll do the get. Okay, just Control V. And then here it'll be its root as well. So I'll get my root. I'll say const root equals some URL. And I'll actually put the actual URL in once I set up my S3 bucket. So as I thought, this is not right. I think I can just do it like this. Nope, this is definitely wrong. Okay, so I think what I have to do is I want it to be images, and I want it to be an array. So I think it'll be in a string array. Oh wait, this isn't TypeScript. Let me look at this really quick, because this is okay. So it's a series of strings. So you do it like this, and then I take these out. Boom, there we go. It's kind of nutty here, right? This may be wrong, but we'll see in a second. Oh, maybe not. All right. Let me just look one more time. Mongoose supports arrays of schema types and arrays of subdocuments. Arrays of schema types are also allowed in are also called primitive arrays, and arrays of subdocuments are also called document arrays. So arrays are special because they implicitly have a default value of So with this, I'm a little skeptical. So I guess what I should do is say, I guess I have to create a schema and call it image array. So what I could do is, just like how they have in the documents here, I'll have to create that new schema. So what I'll do is I'll say, where I'm clicking the wrong place. Let's say, oh wait, did I lose that? Yeah. Some location, and then I'll say const image array type equals, since it's not using the schema thing there, I have to do image array type equals, let's try this, type string, and then we'll do this. So it's not a schema here, but we'll do image array type and see if it accepts that, and it'll tell us here if it doesn't, because it'll say, hey, you don't have the proper tag on that. Bless you. And let's see, I'm back in the docs. So I'm thinking what I'll have to do is that'll just be another model. That's the easiest way I can think about it anyway. So it'll be let's see if I did mongoose dot model, and then I just called it image array. I don't think this is really what I have to do. I'm just not familiar with this right now. And then I just say image, boom, boom, and boom. I did it again. Oh shit, no, I needed that. Type, get that, and open another one there. And close it, and we're done. And now here, I think I just have one too many braces. Yeah. So that may work. I don't think I have to do this model thing, so I'm not going to do that. And then we'll test this in another session. But we'll just go through testing and stuff in the next section, just to make sure it's working properly. So we'll know if this doesn't work. And we're actually going to reuse this. So just like before, well, actually this one doesn't actually need it just yet, so I might be able to get away with this, because let's say for the default one, I'll say it is an image, and I'll do that. And then what I might be able to do is when I go to the next few ones, I might have my let's say it might be like summary or something, because what you see is I have these repeating fields of talking about different things. So I might even just call it section, just to be a little bit more generic. And the section can have all the other information with this series of images. So let's say section is going to be an object of type image. So I wonder if I can use the image since I've already had it, and leave it at that. Seems to work here, but it might not. And if it doesn't, I have an idea on how to fix it. And because I really don't know how frequently that stuff's gonna go on, you know. So actually, it might be of type overview. And then let me give it a title as well. Title, and it'll be type string, and then that'll be required. Actually, it's not required because when I look back at my design, it's not required here because it's just the description. So what I'll do is it'll be like this. Boom. This isn't gonna work. So let me do. It's gonna be of. I'll give it a title here. No. So go back to the docs. And here we go. So you can create a custom type to do that. And then you have other ways of doing this. I want to keep this as simple as possible because I don't want to have a. I don't want to create something really complex and then it's hard to get it right, or I over complicate something that doesn't need to be complicated. So what I'm looking at is the examples they have here to see if I have anything that looks a little similar to that. And I look at this mix thing. That's not what I want. I wanted to see if they had anything where they combine their schemas. So I look here and I see they have this. Oh yeah, I can do that. So I can just do a new schema and then call it whatever I want, and then use that in the model, which seems to be the case. So I can do that, yeah. So what'll happen is I can just create that type that I wanted, and then have that in there. So I can say image array schema equals new. Wait, oh, on the wrong side of that. Say new schema. Am I doing this right? Yeah, I think I just spelled it wrong. I want to see if I have to import anything to use that schema. Oop. Cool. So go in here, new schema, and then just jump right into the. That's what I was missing. There and there. So now I have a new schema defined, and that is going to be actually I'm just gonna call it section. Because what is going to happen is I'm going to have an array of sections. So here it'll be description, or I'll call it content, and then that'll be of type string, capital. It'll be required. True. Image is going to be required because I don't want that to be required. True. Comma there, but not there. Here. That should be all I need there. I think that's good to go. L title. Type string required true. And comma. And now we have our schema. We have our model. And then I'm just going to say sections. And we'll do, as you saw in the docs, we'll have section. Now that I'm happy with and confident will work. And that way, here, I can actually do, since it's an array, each section might have more than one image. So I might have to do something like this. Images equals new schema, right? And then I'll just take this thing here, right? So you see we have the new schema defined there. It takes it's for the image, and it has the type required, and it has all the information that we need, and we'll pass that down here, and it'll just be images, as we said. Actually, let me do image. It's actually just image, and then we'll have an array of images, if that makes sense. And then we'll do array image, boom, and we've got that. We've got section, and then we have an array of sections. So now we have all of this linked up, but almost forgot to add in the date started. I'll just keep it consistent for now. And this will be of type date, and then it'll be required. Then it'll be true. And then it'll be the date completed, and this will be of type. This will be like this is actually be what I wanted before, where it'll be either a date or it'll be a string. And I'll put a validator on that, and you'll see why. True. And then we're going to validate. And the reason why I want to validate it is because if it's a string, I just want it to be one thing. I don't want it to be anything else. So we're going to validate, and we're going to do this in the if it's not type of, if it's not a date, then if it's not a date, and wait, I need to say if value, if value is not a type of date and value doesn't equal in a, where am I missing my comma? Then we're going to throw an error. The date completed can only be a date, or the string in /a. I want to see if that screws with anything. It doesn't seem to have a problem. Or boom. Oh wait, it can be null. So if it's if I don't make it required, I don't have to do this. So I don't have to validate. Something's wrong anyway. And just take that off. And then we could validate and say date completed has to be after date started. And we can put that in there. Actually, I don't know how to do that right now, so I'll just leave it like that as is. And is there anything else I was missing? Actually, I don't have anything for that. Let me click here. The link and the type. Yeah. So I want to say URL, maybe a type of string. Obviously, it's a URL. I'll require it for now, but there may be a string that I don't need. And that'll be it. Oh, and the type. Forget that. You type string, and this will be required. So I think I have everything I wanted in here for setting that up. So have the name. Let me just verify that. So yeah, we have the name, we have the type, we have the dates, we have the description, we have your image here, we have the link, we have the sections, and with the image, oh, so there might be some kind of subheader over here. So what I'll give it, for each image, I'll just give it some kind of, I'll just say text to go with it. I can change it if I don't like it. I just want it to be as explicit as possible. So when I go in here for image, I might just say, hey, this will be text. I'll say description, I guess. Yeah. I'll give it a title. So there we go, title. So we'll give it a title, and it'll just be of type string. And I really don't have anything else to put in there, so I think that's all I need to do. I don't think I have to do all of the object stuff. If it's, if it's very straightforward, I don't think you need it. Yeah, you can just put it like that. Actually, nope, you got to do the type thing. I thought so. Here we go. And we got type string. And then goes that, comma, and we are Gucci. So that's everything we have for that. And then what we'll do next is we'll go in and we'll create some routers. And what the routers do is they allow us to actually create, delete, and so they'll let us read it. They'll let us create new objects. They'll let us update them, and they'll let us delete them. So we'll go through that tomorrow, and we'll also look at another application called Postman. So I already have it installed here. This is Postman. If you want to follow along, you might want to go ahead and download that. It's another free thing, and that'll get you at least ahead of the game for tomorrow. And that'll be that. So see you guys tomorrow. Oh, and if I set up I'll probably set the S3 stuff up tomorrow, and I'll just show you guys what it looks like. If I have to do anything extra, I'll go over that before I dive in. So thanks for tuning in, and have a good day, guys. Well, good night.